She has the responsibility to submit to me.
Yeah.
Just end of story. But I have the responsibility to care for her in such a way that makes her lovely.
Yeah.
Doug Wilson deals with this in Reforming Marriage on Efficacious Love, chapter 5. And it's just a fantastic chapter about how a husband's love for his wife actually makes her more beautiful. Mm-hmm. And it's just a wonderful chapter. Highly recommend it. People struggle with that concept. But I believe as a husband and a father, I have the responsibility before God that my wife and daughters are lovely.
Hi, my name is Jerry Dorris. This is Tanner Cartwright. And this is Snake on the Table. Bro, you hurt your back. I can feel it.
No, I'm okay.
You're going to grimace through this whole thing.
It only hurts when I breathe.
What's our snake today?
So, our snake today... See which one we're doing first. Does Genesis 3:16 teach husband rule is part of the curse?
Right.
So you've got the statement made in Genesis 3:16 where...
Let me pull that up.
Yeah, pull it up. Where, they've fallen into sin, and now he is laying out for the serpent, for Eve, and for Adam.
Yeah.
The curses involved. And one of the things he says to Eve is about, your desire will be for your husband, but he will rule over you.
Wow, you almost quoted it perfectly. To the woman he said, I will greatly multiply your pain in childbirth, and in pain you will bring forth children. Yet your desire will be for your husband, and he will rule over you.
Yep.
So this came up because someone, Owen.
Don't name him.
Don't have to name him.
Don't name him.
Owen Strawman had said last week, I think it was, that this is all part of the curse. And in fairness to him, he's not alone in that assessment of that passage. And especially from a complementarian standpoint. And the reason, I was just reading a book today on abusive wives. It's a good book so far. And just talks about the way women abuse their husbands verbally. It's not a physical thing, and it sounds funny to you, but we should break that. It
can be.
We should break that down because it actually.
We've had some long distant family member that no one would ever know, but seriously, but his wife beat him.
Yeah, no, I'm not talking about that. But anyways, the whole point of that, we'll get to that another time. But in there, he posits this. And the reason he does that is the idea that this is talking about domineering. The word rule is talking about a sinful domineering in this passage. And I get that because that's definitely man's propensity. You know, one of the sins of men is we hit things too hard.
Sure.
And when we should be gentle.
Well, and specifically, I think his argument is that because her desire shall be for her husband, translating that as that's sin, but then he shall rule over you. His argument is that he's laying out two sins, one for each.
Yeah. So let's break that down.
Yep.
And so I think that's false. I think that's wrong.
Okay.
MacArthur would disagree with that. Others would disagree with that assessment. Because first off, note what the verse says. To the woman, he said.
Yes.
And he said, I will greatly multiply your pain in childbirth. And then in pain you will bring forth child. So pain in childbirth. And then he says, yet your desire will be for your husband, and he will rule over you. So it's not a statement to the husband. It's not a curse to the husband here. It's a curse to the wife. And that she's going to have a desire for leadership over the husband to take that position in place, but yet that's not going to happen.
She's no longer going to be joyfully submissive.
She's not going to be joyfully
in the way that Eve was to Adam.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and that's actually there's two things that are exegetically that I want to point out. First is that this is to the woman, so it's not to the man. This isn't a curse upon the man.
Yep.
And then second, it actually says he will rule over you.
Yeah.
He's going to have
emphatic statement.
He's going to have this position over you.
Yeah.
It's not that
you're going to want to get around it, but you're not going to get to it.
You're not going to be able to get around it. That's effectively what it's saying. Plus, there's a parallel here that's happening. So pain in childbirth, and you're wanting to rule, but he's going to still rule you.
Don't get to.
There's that parallel happening there. So exegetically, it just doesn't work. But beyond that, if we look if we go before this,
Yes.
and we think about this, I had tweeted this out. Help me out because I don't have Twitter on my.
I got it. I
my
screenshot it
iPad.
because it's a killer tweet.
But there are 5 things that are happening before the curse,
Yeah, let
and
me
I think
read
it's
it.
worth recognizing.
So you wrote Adam and Eve before the fall. Woman is made for the man. Woman is made from the man. Woman is brought to the man. Woman is named by the man, and woman is submissive to the man.
Right.
It's all before the fall.
All before the fall.
All of it.
And she was joyfully part of that.
Yes.
You know, and
this would make people uncomfortable if you didn't couch it in the right way. But Adam named the animals because he had authority over them.
Yep.
He named the woman because he
he
had authority over her. He
Now-
actually named her twice.
right.
Yes.
Yeah,
He
so-
named her woman. He named her Eve
Right.
after the fall.
Yeah, so there's God is obviously showcasing the creation of the woman in that whole endeavor. He could have, like he did with the lions and the beavers and whoever it was, he could have just made them.
Sure.
And then he would have seen that he had a suitable partner.
Yeah.
But he highlights the fact that he is incomplete, that he needs to have.
He had a need.
He needs a
Yes.
helper. But he is the one who's been given the mandate, the rules. He
Yep.
sets, this is what I want you to eat. This is what I don't want you to eat. This is what I want you to do. And then she's created after that. And how does she learn about those things? She learns about those things because Adam teaches. He's
Yeah.
the authoritative leader who has been given God's word
Yep.
to communicate that to his wife.
Yep.
And, go look at Paul. How does he interpret all of that? This is why women aren't to exercise
He
any
points
of the...
back to the creation order and arguing against women being an authority in the church.
Yeah, he points
Yes.
to before the fall.
Yep.
So anyways, the argument is, that's leadership, and this is dominion. No. Wait a minute. This
Yeah.
is not a curse against Adam.
Yeah.
Definitely man's propensity. So I agree with the assessment from Owen.
Now that
and
we're
others.
fallen in sin, our propensity is to be a harsh ruler.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and likewise, our propensity is to abdicate on our mandate.
Sure.
We don't want to engage in the mission, and we certainly don't want to communicate the God's word to our spouses. We don't want to do family worship. We don't want to do any of those kind of things. So yeah, there's the sinful tendencies there
to drop the ball.
Yeah. Anyways, I think pointing those 4 things out,
Yeah.
5 things out, are pretty important. But
Yeah. Well, I mean, if you look at that, I don't know how you argue that man wasn't made to rule over the woman from before the fall.
Yeah.
I mean, but not in a domineering way, in a sinless way, in the same way that. So I believe that there would have been government even if, like, there would have been a civil sphere.
Sure.
Even if Adam hadn't fallen.
Right.
There would have been a civil sphere. There would have been church, family, and government. So
Yeah.
a lot of people don't believe that.
Yeah.
But I believe there would have been. And the government would have had actual, real authority and rule in that. Mm-hmm. And they would have been legitimate and real, but not domineering.
Yep.
There wouldn't have been any tyrants.
Yep.
Obviously hypothetical, but.
So if we go to chapter 4,
Yep.
and we talking about Cain and Abel, well, this word is used a couple times here. First off, it was used. I'm going to scroll way back here.
Which word?
The word for rule.
Okay.
First off, I skipped one. So if you go back to Genesis, you don't have to, but Genesis chapter 1, God placed them in the expanse of the heavens for light on the earth and to govern the day and the night. That's that same word, to rule, to take dominion over. And then we see it in Cain's story. So Cain and Abel, it shows up again. It says, and if you do not do well, sin is crouching at the door and its desires for you. Interesting. That's the same word that is used of the woman having desire for her husband, like it's trying to overtake you. Sin is going to sin is going to overtake you.
Wow.
But you're to master it, and that word "master" is to rule. So the sin's desires to overtake and to dominate, but
rule is being used both in chapter 1 and 4 in a good sense.
Good sense. And in chapter
So we're
1,
arguing
chapter
in chapter
3.
Yes.
Yeah.
So this word, that's what a great point.
Yeah, it just doesn't work exegetically
Yeah.
to think that dominion and the patriarchy is
So
part
all
of
the other
curse.
uses of rule are good, but this one's bad.
Yeah, because
we're feminist.
Because we've been feminized and we're
That's why.
complementarian and we don't understand
Yep.
what patriarchy means, and we always
Yes.
want to assume the worst. And anybody who says rule, you mean
Yes.
whips and chains and domineering,
Well,
forcing women to wear red dresses.
one of the struggles for these types of guys, and I mean, I think, I mean, he's got some little wacky views on the Trinity, which is sus for sure. But I tend to think Owen's probably a brother.
Absolutely.
He's probably, understands the gospel and all these things.
Sure.
I trust some of the guys somewhat that, kind of work around him and whatnot. So I think the struggle with these types of guys, like Owen, is that they are terrified of being called names or being associated with certain groups. So that would be patriarchal, that would be Christian nationalists.
Yeah.
He just went on a jihad against Christian nationalism,
Yeah.
because he doesn't want to be associated with these terms that are used in more of an, I don't know, in an extreme way or whatever, that it seemed to be extreme.
He's simping for women. He's simping for
Sure what it
women
looks like.
and for feminized leaders that he values.
He's got his white knight card for sure.
Yeah, exactly. I get it. I mean, I think we've both been there at times.
I get the temptation.
It is,
It's just not right.
and you got to fight your little inner
Your
feminist.
little inner
Owen.
feminist,
You
yeah.
got to kill it. What did Paul say?
Paul Washer. Yeah.
If you get in touch with your feminine side, kill it.
Crucify
Crucify it.
Yeah.
Anyway, so I think that's the answer to that question. No,
Yeah.
I think it's worth really hitting this. We must not fall into the trap of what the far harsher side of patriarchy.
Yeah. So this is something I've been meaning to post about, and I just haven't had time. But there is such a thing as hyperpatriarchy.
Yeah.
There is, and where I usually see it and name it or associate it is when you have guys that, they will not allow, basically they will not submit to any church authority. Mm-hmm. They are the big, defy tyrants guys, which is fine, but you will not submit to any authority, but your wife must submit to you.
Yeah.
And then you act like you are the government and the church over her, like you're doing church in your house and you're giving your family communion and all of these things. You're not a man under authority.
Yeah.
You think of the centurion with Christ. He understood authority. He said, I'm a man under authority, but I also have people under me. I say to one, go, and he goes, and one, come, and he comes. Mm-hmm. And Christ commended him because of his faith that he had. He understood Christ's authority. Christ was a man under authority.
Yeah.
And we are to be men under authority. So there is such a thing as hyperpatriarchy.
There is. Let's go ahead and do the red dress part of this.
Okay.
So the whole thing going around. If you asked your wife if she to
what
wear
a banger response from
red
my
dress.
wife.
She's like, you got to give me a budget because
My wife is so based.
I ain't got my wife's simple answer was, well, that's stupid.
That's dumb.
So I want to argue this is why I believe that when we talk about Hyperianism,
yes,
and the three spheres, that we really need that fourth one, and that's the individual sphere, self-government. Yeah, because I think there is. I do care about what my wife wears, that it's beautiful and that she's appropriately addressed. She's not immodest. I want to make sure that, not that there's a tendency for sin there, but I want to be on guard for those things. But I want my wife to enjoy what she wears.
Yes. And
her to make choices about the dresses. So she just, spends all the time in Goodwill. We just love Goodwill.
Yeah.
Because there's always good stuff there, and she'll come back and she'll say, "You like this?" And and I like it or not like it. Yep. There's been times that I haven't liked it. It's just a few bucks, throw it away. I don't care.
Exactly.
But I give her that.
Yeah.
How she wants to wear her hair. I have my preferences, but I don't care.
Sure.
I care, but I don't care.
Yeah. Well, I don't. So I like long hair, and several years ago, it's probably been 8 years ago, my wife wanted to try cutting it short for the first time in her life.
Yeah.
Or since she was young, anyway. And I was like, yeah, go for it. And she did it, and then she regretted it. But
cuts her bangs and they're short.
So so here's the problem. Here's my problem with the red dress hypothesis or hypothetical rather.
Yeah.
The red dress hypothetical is it's a bait and switch. because you're asking, should a wife submit to this? When the real question is, should a husband ask this?
Yeah.
That's the real question. It's like they want to say, should a wife submit to it? And then all their arguments are about, well, a husband shouldn't do that.
Yeah.
It's like, well, maybe I agree with you there, but that wasn't your question.
Right.
It's a bait and switch. So, for my wife, there's been very few times where I told her I did not like what she was wearing. And there was one time she had gotten a dress from a yard sale or Goodwill, which is mostly what we do for all of our clothes.
Yeah.
And it wasn't pretty. And it didn't compliment her
Big
well.
poofy arms.
I didn't like it. And I told her, I said, I don't like that. I want you to throw it away. And I told her, I was like, we will go to the mall and we'll get you a couple dresses.
Yeah.
And so my response is, I will shell out the money to make sure that you are wearing things that you love, that I love, that compliment you, that are attractive, and all of these things. That's the response of a godly husband. Because she has the responsibility to submit to me.
Yeah.
Just end of story. But I have the responsibility to care for her in such a way that makes her lovely.
Yeah.
Doug Wilson deals with this in Reforming Marriage on Efficacious Love, chapter 5. And it's just a fantastic chapter about how a husband's love for his wife actually makes her more beautiful. Mm-hmm. And it's just a wonderful chapter. Highly recommend it. People struggle with that concept. But I believe as a husband and a father, I have the responsibility before God that my wife and daughters are lovely.
Yeah, under godly leadership, under a gentle patriarchy, where you care but you're leading, women should flourish. They should become more beautiful.
Yep.
They should become more lovely.
Yep.
Yeah.
Modesty doesn't mean
frumpy. And I have seen this. Seen this with young men who marry. And they're working it out and they're figuring it out in a year, 2 years in a row. And that woman is just beautiful.
She blossoms.
She blossoms.
Yeah.
My wife hates that.
Yeah.
Talking about women blossoming.
Blossoming?
She hates that phrase. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Why?
I try to not say that.
Oh, okay.
She has some words that she doesn't like.
Like her head opens up like a flower.
I submit to my wife on these issues. She doesn't like the word slacks. She doesn't like
slacks.
Slacks. Wearing slacks.
I don't like wearing slacks. So we agree on something. But yeah, so I think that I have a responsibility, but that is distinct from her responsibility to submit to me. So as a husband, forget the red dress thing, because obviously in a hypothetical, you make it extreme on purpose.
Yeah.
So, but if I said, I want you wearing dresses.
Yeah.
I like dresses better than pants.
But you have a theological basis for that. And your theological basis is, I want you to look feminine.
Feminine? Yeah.
I don't want you to look masculine.
Sure.
I feel like jeans are too tight. And
whatever.
That's immodest. You could name a number of reasons why I think that dresses are more becoming for you to be lovely.
Sure.
And
a husband can hold that opinion and believe that and not be in sin. And so if he is asking that of his wife, should she submit to that? I think the answer is an overwhelming yes.
She should run to that submission.
Yes.
She should want to and desire that.
Yeah, and like my wife texted me back, she was like, I'm going to need a budget.
Give me a budget. What about your beard, buddy? Do you submit your beard choices to your wife's preferences?
Usually. To some extent. So she doesn't like the beard. She doesn't like this.
So she actually prefers the chops.
She far prefers the chops.
Which I think people seeing you just hate your chops, man. They think you look stupid. It's like Austin Keeler's mustache.
People love to hate some things. So I like the chops. Every couple of years I grow a beard just because I just want to, every now and again line these.
Who'd you say you're going for right now? Ryle or somebody?
No. If you hadn't asked me. B.B. Warfield.
You're going for the
Warfield, yeah.
Nice.
Which mine's perfect because B.B. Warfield's went and stuck out, and his mustache it was all kind of bushy looking.
All right. Anyway. So to answer this question about Genesis 3:16, I don't think that this in any way means that a rule or mastering is part of the curse. That's absurd.
Yeah.
It's present in if it looks like a duck. Quacks like a duck, it's duck. And so we have rule happening before the curse in those areas that we defined. And then when you see it in the immediate context and then the outer context in chapter 1 and chapter 4, this is a slam dunk.
It is, and so one of the things that when you had mentioned that, I'd looked up right before we started here. One of the things that Owen was arguing is that a husband's authority over his wife is very different than his authority over his children. And in a sense, maybe he's right, but I don't think he's right. So, for example, I decide when my children eat. They ask me if
and
they
go
can,
to the bathroom if we're on a drive.
If they ask,
we're not going to the bathroom right now.
At nighttime, if I say go to the bathroom and they say no,
yeah,
that's a discipline issue.
Yeah,
and so if I tell my wife I want dinner at 6:00 and she says no, she doesn't have the right before God to say no.
Yeah.
Now those are decisions that we make together. I mean, they're easy things. It's no big deal. But if for some reason it came down to the wire, and she was like, I think 5 would be better, and I'm like, no, 6. At the end of the day, that's my decision.
Yeah.
So at the end of the day, I decide when our family eats, and so that there is a husband and wife are not equal in their authority over the children, over the house, over the home. There is a wife does have authority over her home.
Sure.
But it is different than a husband's authority over her home.
Yeah.
So, and this is why wives have to call their husbands in for discipline sometimes, because frankly, the authority is just different.
Yeah.
So, anyway.
You hear that phrase, here comes the king, or the king has entered the room. When that happens, the authority is transferred to him.
Yes.
And when the husband arrives at home, all the authority is on his shoulders, not on hers anymore. He now makes all the decisions. Now he can delegate and have.
Well, and just frankly, bluntly, her authority is a delegated authority.
Yeah.
So a wife's authority over her home, over her family, is a delegated authority. So you think about a queen in a courtroom.
Yeah.
A queen has authority, but it's because she's married to the king.
Yeah.
It's because it's delegated authority.
And in the same way, if Christ were to show up right now here, we would all go, what do you want to do?
The church is the church's authority immediately it's all his.
Yeah.
And so as under shepherds, we have a delegated authority.
Right.
But yeah, when he shows up, it's all him.
Yeah, it's
praise the Lord.
Yeah.
I'm ready for that.
I'm ready for him to take
Come,
the
Lord
reins.
Jesus.
Okay. Well, I think we've hit this hard enough. If you got a question for us and you want to have us
It'd be a
interact
great
with us,
topic for a debate.
Yeah. Who do we get?
Straw man. Owen.
He's not going to
Come on,
debate.
dude.
I'll give you guys, I saw it in a comment section, and it's so true. What he does is he'll throw something out like this that's really squishy, and he'll get a lot of blowback, and then he'll retreat the next day to a post that everybody affirms about how we should be against pornography, and you're all like, I don't want to like it because he's weak over here.
Well, and just in scrolling through his Twitter to find that, he just posted about Daniel Penny being a hero.
Yeah.
It's like,
how can I not like
he's
that?
Right.
He's right. All right, snakeonthetable@gmail.com. We'd love to interact with you.
God bless.